Hey, what's the matter, you?
It should take up the whole screen, right?
Yep.
Faith, hope, and the
Yep,
proof
that's
of
all
what
I
we
get.
believe. Love and
Love and
action. So, building off of my faith in my last session, I'm moving into love. So, love and action, faith, hope, and the proof of what we believe. But the greatest of these is love. First Corinthians. So, so when I click on you, the high bar of love. First Corinthians 13 gives us a standard that is almost impossible to fake. It'll become more clear as we progress. So, love is patient. This is the famous First Corinthians 13. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not honor others. I apologize. It does not dishonor others, it is not self seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth, always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Faith, hope, love. But the greatest of these is love. So, question, why does this definition of love feel like such a high bar?
Well, it's definitely it's a lot of actions going on there. It's um, you know about resisting anger, and then I guess it's definitely there's a lot to it there. Always
Yeah,
trust, always hopes, always perseveres. That's a lot, saying a lot.
yeah. So obviously we're elevating this above what the world sees. Like Mike had mentioned last time, how love is just thrown around and tossed around with respect to, you know, the sentiment, emotion, or human niceness. Uh, and I'm trying to look at this that this is lofty, right? This could almost be construed as divine like in nature. Very high. Even if we want to say that it's in reach as our human nature, it would be the high level of human nature that we're reaching towards, something that I believe we should be striving for. Um, so, and I obviously what I'm going to discuss in this presentation is that I'm trying to bring forth three ideas: love as a standard, evil as a distortion of good, and love becoming visible through faith filled action. As you remember from my faith presentation, faith was when it was on display, when we moved into action. And I used a lot of different examples of how we trust the builder of a bridge, but faith makes us cross the bridge. And I think that's a distinction that now I'm building upon, where now our faith has a targeted purpose, and that's now this high bar of love. So obviously, love is more than an emotion. It's not merely what we feel; it's a direction we choose. And I think right there, that's a powerful understanding. It's something that we choose. So love is patient when impatience is easier. Love is kind when pride wants to answer. Love is truthful when comfort wants silence. Love endures when self wants to quit. Love forgives when justice wants revenge. Love acts when it costs certainty. That's a powerful thought right there. Love acts even when it costs our certainty. Love sacrifices when it costs personal gain. Is love still love if it never costs us anything? If you love them that love you, what reward have you? Do not even the publicans the same? This is when, in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says to love your enemy. bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them that despitefully use you. Again, very lofty. Uh, I think that has to take on a different concept of what our purpose here is. When
I
you,
know,
when you,
um, in the book, I talk a little bit about this, how it took me a while to realize what love was. It wasn't this definition, it was a simpler definition, but it was the idea that, I wanted Lynn or another person to be happy, even if it costs me, even if I was unhappy or I had to sacrifice in some way. Their happiness was more important to me than my happiness.
that's a big step. That's a big step. That's a big understanding, and application of that is even more of an achievement. It's like, we read this, we know that this is appropriate. And obviously, there are outliers to everything. And I'm not talking about the outliers. I'm trying to stay focused on this recognition that this is good. This is the right to do. Um, Yet, why is it so difficult to achieve? Why does it cut against the grain of what seems to be our human nature?
I think
think these.
something that popped into my head was that it seems like years or even decades to have the mental stability and to be able to ignore the distractions of life and mental distractions and be able to continuously improve your loving, how you love and your thoughts about it. And, because I feel like I'm growing in that sense with my kids and with my wife and that, but it's taken years and years and and a lot of mental, I don't know how you would put it, not like control. I don't know if you can control your mind. It's more about letting things go and letting things, and how you frame the world and how you frame your thoughts, type of thing.
I do. I think it's a maturity. It's a level of maturity.
Well, unfortunately, in our current society, we don't have also that foundation where we're capable of, again, because we know that we follow a leader. So if we had the wise counsel who's achieved this, because it definitely takes years and years, and if you had spoken to me in my 20s, I would have laughed in your face. But the 50s and the 40s and the 60-year-olds who now have, through discipline and fortitude, have reached this to even some small degree, could help those, mentor those, instruct those. It's like, I can't tell you how many times I've fallen because I didn't have wise counsel and I had to get up, wipe off the knees, ow, that hurt, get back on the horse, go and continue. But what a blessing it would have been to have someone, or had someone, that would have said, it's just like when you're doing a project, Mike, when that guy came in and we're trying to mess with this little, I don't want to hurt the wood, and you're moving this microwave, and he comes in, he's like, rip, smooth, smash, clang, pull, because he had done it so many times before, and he knew exactly what to do. And it was like, and then once you see that, you're like, oh, I could have done that if I just had the knowledge and understanding to have seen somebody that would have done it before us.
And
So
I do think this is something, when you think about some of the basics, Christian, with what you're getting at. I mean, obviously, it is unavoidable to begin life and just be me, because it's the most visceral experience. It's yourself. Your stomach growls, you're hungry, you want to be fed immediately, you don't want to wait. But of course, as you get older, you realize that your immediate needs can be pushed off. It's not the end of the world, and that the years, and discipline is kind of like that. Discipline takes years to get good at, I mean, that's, to me, actually part of the exciting aspect to discipline. It's that you can always be more disciplined. So it's not like it's a thing where you're going to say you're done. No, it's going to say where every decade you're improving a little bit. So
What I also find, oh, go ahead, Chris, please, please.
Well, I didn't say anything.
Okay, well, I also find interesting is that, like, when I have the question, is it still love when it never, if it doesn't cost us anything? I mean, look at the situations where, love is patient. Well, you have to experience trials and tribulations in situations that, who wants to put themselves into that? Love is kind when tried. Love is truthful. This is all situations and that we, try to avoid. You know what I'm saying? Like, not all the time, but it takes an uncomfortable situation to get us to the point of needing patience in order to see if we even have patience. So it's an important understanding that this is an action, all of them. And actions occur in situations that usually are not the best situations, when you have to sacrifice at the cost of personal gain, or doing things that costs the certainty of what you're comfortable at, or safety, find safety in. So it's just important to realize that truth. Evil does not create, takes what is good and bends it away from its purpose. Evil is parasitic. It depends on goodness in order to corrupt it. Self-worth is good, but twisted inward, it becomes pride. Justice is good, but twisted by rage, it becomes wrath. Strength is good, but twisted away from love, it becomes domination. Desire is good, but twisted away from holiness, it becomes lust or greed. Rest is good, but twisted into neglect, and it becomes sloth. This is an incredible realization. It doesn't seem to
So,
create.
how are you defining evil here, Joe? I mean, love. Obviously, you did proffer a definition of love. How are you defining evil here?
I am not trying to speak about it as an entity unto itself. I'm not going there. That to me is to getting into the transcendental. I'm trying to just look at it from our human nature, that we have this set of good purposes that we are growing towards, that if we become aware of and we want to progress to, like we've discussed, it's the Tao, it's the righteous path, it's the way it should be, this is what we should be aspiring to. But it's interesting that when those are sought after but or either neglected, then this is what can result if we don't actively pursue what would be considered that higher purpose. So that, and I almost dare to say, the world tries to push us or make us decide on what would be the non-righteous path, the greed, the pride, the lust, the sloth, all promoted by society.
I say that. I mean, you're using the word here. It takes what is good. It sounds like you're using it as a noun or as a force of itself. Or are you talking about? Are you just talking about it is when somebody makes a bad choice, when somebody veers away from what they know they should do?
Yeah, gentlemen, I have to pause for a second. Mom's calling. Yes, because I don't want to travel down that path. It's too murky. You know what I mean? I don't believe evil exists as an entity unto itself. I don't believe that. Oh.
Right. Although that's what I'm saying. That slide implies that a little bit, but okay.
Okay, so when love gets twisted, we get the 7 deadly sins, as can be viewed as corrupted desires for something good. And so we've gone through these. These are obviously where we just said self-worth becomes pride, justice that can easily develop and fall into wrath. Desire for good can turn into envy. What I find, what if we had a point of discussion, where have you seen something good become destructive because it was twisted away from love?
An example of that where it became. I can only think of something like relationships where they go bad because someone gets possessive, or where they twist it into jealousy, and they turn into a tyrant type of situation.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, what's the question? Is it that the bottom one?
Yeah.
Say
No, it's where have you seen something become destructive because it was twisted away from love?
I don't know. That's an interesting way to phrase it. But
so, for example, like Christian just said, love can be twisted into control. You could become possessive. You fall into that. All of a sudden, you're just envious. You're following the girl. You're trying to see who she's talking to. You start looking on her phone, right? I mean, you can easily well, I love you, and wow, boy, you got totally twisted into
right,
trying to control the person.
right.
So,
Yeah, this is not. Some of these don't make. Maybe I'm just not understanding. Like rest. How does rest to sloth? So you're saying, how is rest to sloth twisting love?
Well, because there's obviously there's a time for everything, and there's a time for rest. There's a time to enjoy a person's company, but obviously, if you take it to an extreme, it can turn into sloth. It can become.
So there, you're taking love, almost love, talking about you're using the word love there then as almost the righteous path.
I would agree. This is again what I'm trying to say is that yes, love is actions, and and when those actions are turned, unfortunately, into it can easily be corrupted by not staying on that purposeful driven path where desire is good, but it can be twisted away from an appropriate desire and turn into lust or greed very easily. And I think that that's the same with rest and justice and strength. And I think that what we're seeing in this is that it's easy to see how our self-worth can turn into pride. And I think it's a delicate line that unfortunately people are more about the pride. I mean, look at the justice where we had all of those burnings of buildings because one man was. I mean, how twisted? How you justify?
It's a very expansive definition of love, but I like it in the sense that when I think of stuff like I think it was John, God is love. He was, of course, talking about an expansive definition of love. Love, as in love, not just love towards your spouse, but love in the sort of the universal sense of the word. Love is almost righteousness, the right thing, something like that.
Well, no, I do believe I'm trying to get at that. It's so much more than what we as a society has put as an emotional feeling.
Right.
I love my mom. I love my dog. I love my children. It goes so much further than that.
Right.
And I believe that unfortunately there's just a part of us that if you're not trying to control your appetites, it's easy that it can turn into gluttony. And we see it. We see it in all the people that have to have 20 cars and have to have 6 houses. I mean, I understand you're wealthy to that degree, and I'm not saying you don't deserve that, but we both can see how it can be taken to an excessive. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's another good example to kind of pause for a minute, because when you think about love in its most obvious sense of the word, you're thinking about towards other people, whether it's your kids or your spouse or your family. That's how you're thinking the expression of love, or that you love them. You don't really think about that in terms of, say, appetite, or the notion of overeating or something. Now you can try and expand it to say, well, you have to love, or an excess in that area can diminish your ability to love. Maybe, if I don't know if that's the angle you're going at.
No, I think that that's another good angle that you could extend it to. But, like, okay, look at the distortions that are commonly accepted or excused today. How pride can be renamed as self-love. It's a healthy self-worth. It's good. But when it becomes I am the center, I'm just putting myself first, well, now you've stepped over into pride. And selfishness renamed as boundaries. Boundaries can be good and necessary, but I don't know anyone anything. And now you've turned it into an inappropriate habit, an inappropriate action. You've taken selfishness and you've renamed it as boundaries. Wrath can be renamed as justice. Lust can be renamed as freedom. Greed can be renamed as ambition. Envy can be renamed as fairness. Sloth is self-care. Cruelty renamed as honesty. Again, our society we need to get back to a foundation. Okay, good. Love becomes visible. The standard becomes real when it moves from belief into sacrifice. This starts on the transition where not just I believe in love, not just I hope love wins, but love must become an action. This is where we get into serving, where calling someone, forgiving someone, showing patience, helping someone in need, sacrificing your time, even praying for someone. What you're doing is you're giving up your time to help another. And then what's one small act of love that proves what we say we believe? Because I think that that's now moving from, obviously, a belief is nothing if it's not put into practice. That's the only way that you can more or less say you truly believe it, is by obviously applying it. And so I do believe that, like calling Frank, when oh my gosh, that is a taxing event. That is going to, it takes a lot to do it. I think that is definitely an act of love.
Yeah.
Like inviting them over, giving up your time for your children, your grandchildren. I think that these are all now where love becomes visible.
I
So
agree with that.
Please.
Time is, I was just going to say, I definitely think that time is definitely an indicator of what you love. The time you give something is the true, because it's your most valuable asset. I mean, other than health, really, health and time, really.
Right.
Yes. Can you think of when love has cost you something? And challenging us to what action would make love visible this week? even to the extent of when we look at that lofty definition, what challenges you the most when you're saying, um, love is patient, love is kind, love is long suffering, love is gentleness, goodness, meekness.
Yeah, I think, especially with, my relationship, I think a lot of times love is, it's almost, it's something that is like constant. It's not, there are big things that stand out, but I don't think they're as meaningful because they're less frequent than the all the daily little things that you do. In other words, when you're constantly thinking of your partner and you're watching them and what do they need? Are they tired? You let them take a nap. Did they forget to do something? You do it for them. Oh, Lynn loves the dogs. Oh, look, the dogs don't have water in their bowl. Well, fill up the water in the bowl so the dogs have water to drink. In other words, you're doing what she would do, or you're doing the things that make her life easier, that kind of thing. And it's just those, over the years, I can tell it's much more all those little things where you're constantly watching your partner. Are they happy? Have you guys had time regularly where you can just talk and check in on how are they feeling? How are things going? Are they nervous about things? What are they nervous about? How can you help? And a lot of times you start anticipating what they need because you know them over years and years. You know them. For me, it's
I
a lot
know,
of things like that.
and I know that, when I reflect on John and little Mike and Edward, I can see the internal battle. It's so clear what I said and thought, oh, I don't want to bring him into my household because, oh, he's going to break something, as if that's the make or break. So you've already projected. I mean, you don't know he's going to break something, but the odds are good. But you project this fake and false narrative. Oh, he's going to take too much of my time. Oh, I'm going to have to watch if he steals something. Oh, I know he's going to bring drug addicts over. Oh, I know he's going to take advantage of me. Oh, how am I going to get him out of the building? What if he tries to buck up and fight? I mean, all our mind is like, it goes off onto all, and maybe some of them are going to come true. And maybe I'm right. But even those, if they come to pass, it's not the end of the world. So, yes, if he steals something, then you confront him, and so what? So then you replace it. Oh, it's a different number at the end of my life. Oh, I don't have $365,432. I have $365,184. I mean, would it have been that much to
Well,
try?
it's funny you use that kind of example in terms of the number in your bank account. I remember in Marcus Aurelius, I thought it was cool. He had one passage, it's similar. He was talking about if you took the length of your life as the number of days, would it really matter if it was, 54,628 days or 45,211 days? I mean, when you look at it in terms of this long string of things, does it really matter if that long string is slightly longer or shorter? Probably not.
No, especially when it comes down to the quality of life. It's not
I
the
will tell you though,
quality.
I find one of the hardest things because I'm big into reciprocity. I'm willing to give. I'm willing to do things for others, but maybe, and I hope that I'll get better at this too. But when it starts getting lopsided, is when I start having a problem. Um, and I could see sort of you can almost measure your capacity to love based on how lopsided can the account be before when you're not getting pissed off. And that's something that I need to work on. Because when you think about, it's like Jesus was trying to say with the old lady and the amount that she was giving. Um, You know, it's easy to give when you have plenty. It's hard to give when you have a little. And when you think about a lopsided relationship, it's when it's wearing you down. Do you still then have the capacity to love? I struggle with that because that's hard.
Well, I do know that that's why it says to take up your cross daily. You're supposed to start fresh in the morning, rebuilding your foundation, making sure you're on solid footing. If you don't get enough sleep, you're going to be more irritable. If you don't get the appropriate time to eat, meditate, whatever, you're creating a situation for a potential fall. And it's always natural. It's human nature that, like, I bought mom some food, and you're like, oh my gosh, why can't she pay me back? And then wait, it's really freaking. It's $20, dude. I mean, if you're gonna count it, there's just this. I don't. They liken it to the good angel and the bad devil. Like, you always got this competing freaking argument that's got to go on. That it's like, shut up. Just, I already know that. I'm not worried about it. Just leave me alone. You almost want to say, because it's like always there. There's always this tit for tat. There's always like, well, she hasn't done anything for you. She doesn't even say thank you. And you're like, do you really need a thank you? Like, that's not her nature. So if you're gonna boil over something so stupid, well, guess what? Then you're gonna be upset. And so I've got to like recenter myself in the morning to say, okay, I can't get any expectations, because whenever I set them, it's so much harder. I wanted a bike ride in the morning. Mom woke up early. So there you go. Your expectation was you wanted a bike ride, and now you're not going to get your expectation. So it's like, and that you got to like let that go. You know what I mean?
As we talked about, people are more important than schedules, but even that's an act of discipline. That is an act of choosing principles over your immediate need, over the visceral, over the thing right in front of your face. You're choosing discipline. You're choosing the immaterial divine principle. And that is hard.
Well, and I think that's where we're going here. We're trusting in the invisible harvest. You're not going to see the results of your helping people. You may help someone, and it might not show up. You don't know what that's going to produce, but you still have to plant those seeds of love, and that will still have its reward at some point. And I think that that's an important principle that you have to accept. I don't know, like Christian taught me, like, you gotta feel like you have to like almost put yourself. And if I ever lost my sight, holy crap, I'd be so upset. Like mom's really
Other context here is that our mother recently has almost lost all of her sight, and that's that. I just you didn't add the context.
And she's pretty damn strong, because I don't think I would be so strong if all of a sudden I lost 80% of my sight.
I want to add one point of clarification here, because I've struggled with this particular, and I've never liked the store your treasures up in heaven thing. It's sort of leaning towards the whole eternal life thing, which I still struggle with in terms of whether that's the truth. But I think there's something else at play here, and it's just how you take the definition of these things. The invisible harvest doesn't necessarily have to mean a place called heaven. It could also mean things like karma. It could also mean things like you don't know all the serendipitous things a good act does. A good act, an act of kindness, can travel in unknown ways, and it can ripple. It's like the whole pebble in the pond effect. And I think
that's what I'm talking about here. I did not make any. I'm not talking about heaven. This invisible harvest. I'm talking about exactly what you're bringing up here. So please continue. Sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
I was just saying that because some people think it solely means that, like you're talking about eternal life, suffer every day now. You can have a harvest in heaven when you're in, for eternity. And I just wanted to say that I don't. It can be more than that. If it can, it doesn't even have to be that at all. If you look at things like karma and how your actions can ripple.
I also
And
wanted to add one thing. I'm sorry. I
no, go
was just
ahead.
thinking of when we were talking about previously, is that something, that a quote that stuck in my mind, and that is to stop keeping score of things. And I was noticing that I would get a lot more angry if, man, I did all these things and they still won't do this. Like, you keep this mental scoreboard in your mind, and if you eliminate that and say, I'm not going to keep score, I'm just going to do it, and fuck it, I don't care, I'm just going to do it, and then that sort of alleviated some of the anxiety or the anger for me.
I cannot tell you how many people in my office, from being committed to these principles and how it ripples. It's why my boss wants me to be seen in the office, because it has an impact across other people's lives. You're kind to someone and you just change that anger that they have, or that resentment, or that stubbornness, or that pride, and it all of a sudden they go home and they're more kind in their household. Or you give forgiveness, and then they in turn remember that forgiveness, and so they give other people forgiveness, and you give someone some help, and it's like they had to pay it forward. That's definitely what starts to happen. And if we can get people to understand that it's not about me versus you, it's about unity of us and learning how to live together with our differences, because we all are going to have differences of opinion. But it doesn't mean that you don't somehow find a way to still work it out, and lead with love is so important. It has invisible effects. And we trust in that. And it's why we do the right thing, even at the cost of everything we've discussed: our time, our sacrifice, our money, whatever. Because again, that's what starts this movement that needs to occur in our society. Not even a question that we
Yeah,
need this.
I just saw there was some stuff that Brett Cooper was highlighting. This guy called Brett Cooper, some young influencer. She's a nice young lady, but she has a channel, and on her channel, she was actually talking about another channel called SB Mowing or something like that. The bottom line is, the guy goes and saw that this old lady's house was way overgrown and stuff, so he cleared out all the stuff for her. And he also did, she was explaining to him all the problems she was having, and he did a GoFundMe for her. And Brett was saying that these GoFundMes are really like taking off. Really, people are. It's a good side of the internet where a lot of people are helping other people. I think that's a good thing.
Like you keep leading into the next. Yes, so here we go. It's got to be where it becomes an action in my life. You know, Without action, belief stays invisible. Hope gives us courage to step forward. Faith moves our feet, and love is the proof of what we believe. And so it has to turn into an action. That's what's most important in regards to love. It's an action. And again, um, it says, if I say I believe in love, but I never act in love, then how is that belief proven? So, like in my world, we're the hands and feet of God. If we want to say that God exists, or some higher power, then his motion occurs in this world by our moving into action. And then we've got James, which says, even so, faith, if it has no works, is dead, being alone. He's like, yeah, I'll show my faith by what I do. You can show your faith by what you don't do. Good luck with that. So, and I paraphrased it, but it's got to take the next step. Otherwise, I love you as a crock. It's just a crock. We're just fooling ourselves. So that's my presentation.
Arrivederci.